recently we were in Northport with some infrastructure announcements. I said that the Braves would go to the World Series, and that has happened. So I know people are excited being the spring training home, and I know there's a lot of folks rooting for the Braves in southern Sarasota County. I want to thank Dana Young, our CEO of Visit Florida, for being here, Kevin Tebow, FDOT Secretary, Representatives Buchanan and Robinson, and then leaders from 3 Florida-based businesses, Rogan Donnelly of Tervis, who's hosted us here today, and we're excited about that, Rod Hirschberger of PGT Innovations, and then John Horn of Anna Maria Oyster Bar. So thank you for being here. And we're here because we are proud that Florida is really leading the way in terms of economic recovery, even in spite of some really significant headwinds that we're seeing out of Washington, D.C. In the month of September, Florida reached a level of job growth that we've only seen 4 other times in the past 30 years. And so you had nationally 194,000 jobs reported added in the month of September. The state of Florida alone accounted for 84,500 of the 194,000 jobs. And so that is, almost half of the nation's output was just in Florida. And if you take Florida out, then the country as a whole barely cracked 100,000 jobs. And so our private sector growth rate was 3 times faster than the overall growth rate of the nation. And our nearly 1% increase in jobs represented the largest increase of any state for September. Nationally, it was 0.1%. So we're proud of that. If you look, leisure and hospitality jobs increased 2.5% over the month. Construction jobs up 1.2%. And quite frankly, if we could get materials easier, that probably would have been even higher. Trade, transportation, utilities increased 1.1%. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the number of businesses forming in Florida has increased by 34% in the first 41 weeks of 2021 compared to the first 41 weeks of 2020. Florida's seen almost 100,000 more business formations in 2021 than the next closest state anywhere in the country. And because of the success of our economy, we're happy to show 3 different companies, and they're going to come up and talk about what they've been able to do. But Tervis is headquartered right here. They got a great story. We'll hear from Rogan. We also have PGT Innovations here. They're a national leader in premium window and door industries, and their roots date back to 1980 when 3 employees began in Venice, Florida. So we are happy to see them on the New York Stock Exchange, and we'll hear from the chairman on that. And then food and tourism industries. We have John Horn, who opened his first restaurant, Anna Maria Oyster Bar, on the City Pier in 1995. He now has 4 more restaurants, and they're 325 employees. They're up huge, not just over last year, but over 2019. And I think that's the thing when you look to see how are things going. When COVID hit, we worked very hard to make sure that we could keep everything going. We protected people's jobs, businesses, and our leisure and hospitality was hanging by a thread, and we were able to help and protect and make sure that the bottom didn't fall out. What they would say at the beginning was, one, thank you, we're doing it, we're going to get there. If we could just get back to 2019, they would be happy with that. Well, I could tell you, they're past 2019. And so that was kind of the golden age. Everyone wished they'd get back. We're already past that. And really, we're not stopping. We have been focusing on, in the last couple of weeks, going around the state and providing money for investments in infrastructure. And that's important. And we've worked very hard on that since I've become governor. Roads, bridges, our seaports. We've put close to $1 billion. Now Florida's in a position, you see all those ships off the west and east coast of the United States that are backlogged. We have the capacity to alleviate those backlogs. People can reroute ships to Florida. All our different ports have different incentive packages. It's something that's really, really exciting, but it's something that we've put a lot of emphasis on. We've also invested and will continue to invest in workforce development. We want to be the #1 state for workforce education all across the country. We've increased apprenticeships. We have more students getting credentials than ever before. And we want to continue to do that, especially as we look to expand our manufacturing footprint. And we're also standing up and protecting individuals' right to work. making sure businesses are always be able to operate. And I think that that formula has been very, very good. Now, what I will say is, in spite of the success that we've been able to have, we're doing that against some constraints. And I think one of the things that has been impacting Floridians the most has been the spike in gas prices. And so I really hope the Biden administration will do all that they can to reduce the price of gas. And begging OPEC to lower the price, that's not a sufficient plan. We have capacity in the United States that was utilized under the previous administration. Now some of that's been choked off, and I fear that you can get a job, do better, make more money, but then if all your costs go up, it's harder for families to get ahead. So the gas prices are a huge deal, and we need relief for that. And then we also just need relief generally from the inflation that we're seeing. You can't dismiss it and say that it was just a little blip. And this is inflation that's really, really real. And this is inflation that eats away at families' budgets. It makes things more unattainable. So our ports, we think, can help because you get more goods into the market. That will alleviate the increase in prices. But I think that there's a lot of other things going on in Washington that is fueling this inflation that we see. And the inflation hits everybody. And it's really difficult to have a really strong economy if inflation gets out of hand. So that needs to be tamed and that needs to be brought under control. I think we've offered part of the solutions to that with our logistical know-how and ability to help process some of these goods. But at the end of the day, this is something that I think you're seeing across the board, and it is absolutely harming families. One of the things we're proud of is when COVID hit, clearly leisure hospitality, that was number one in the barrel of things that were going to be harmed. I mean, some people for a while didn't even want to fly on airplanes and all this other stuff. And so given that we are such a service-based economy, given that our tourism, leisure, and hospitality represent huge portions of our economy, account for a lot of jobs, this was really a trying time. I mean, we had a lot on the line here in the state of Florida, and I'm happy to report now that our tourism industry is leading this nation. Hotel room revenue in August of 2021 was up 11% compared to pre-COVID August of 2019, while at the same time the nation as a whole was down 5% over those two periods. Here in Sarasota County, they lead the state in hotel bookings and growth. They're up 31%. Florida vacation rental bookings through September 2021 are more than over 80% higher than in 2019 before COVID. Air capacity to Florida is 2% higher than it was in 2019, while the U.S. as a whole is down 18%. We had 31.7 million visitors came to Florida in the second quarter of 2021. That's a 223% increase from 2020, which you probably would expect, but it's also a 6% increase from 2019 in terms of domestic visitors. And the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, if you compare flights this summer to summer of 2019, is up 125%. And our reps inform me that that's the best performing increases in the United States, and I think maybe even in the world. So that's exciting, and clearly there's the secret is out about this part of the state of Florida. So we're going to continue to make sure that Florida's open, free, and built for opportunity, and we want to make sure that people have the ability to succeed here in this state, that they have jobs, that businesses are successful, and that Florida is a great place for people all throughout our country to come and visit and have a great time. And there's correspondence to our office on a whole bunch of stuff, but people will come down here for vacation, and they're very, very happy that they came to Florida. And I think part of the reason we're doing so well is because Florida offers a better experience than maybe some of the other places in the United States since COVID's happened. So we're happy with that. All right, and we're going to hear from some folks who are going to talk about what's going on and some of the good news. Look, when you're doing over 40% of the nation's jobs, we represent about 6.5% of the nation's population, and we accounted for over 40% of the jobs in the month of September. That doesn't happen by accident, and I think it's because we've got a lot of great people who are working in our economy and really working hard to do great for their businesses and for their employees. So Rogan Donnelly from Tervis, why don't you come up here and tell us about some of the things that are going on.
Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Rogan Donnelly. I'm president and CEO of Tervis Tumbler. Tervis is a privately owned and operated company. We have just under 500 employees. Mainly those are based right out here out of the North Venice location. Tervis is a classic American leisure brand, and we manufacture premium insulated drinkware with thousands of designs and licenses. We're all very honored to have the governor here today. Tervis experienced a lot of success over our 60-year history of operating here in the state of Florida. However, we never could have prepared for what happened during the pandemic. Thanks to the leadership of Governor DeSantis, Tervis was able to keep our headquarters open in order to manufacture our products. Our employees were able to safely stay at work and provide for their families. And Tervis was able to continue our 75-year legacy of success during a time when other companies in other states were struggling. Even since the pandemic, Governor DeSantis has created a business environment that has enabled us to hire 115 people since June that has helped minimize the broader impacts that the pandemic created. Tervis is very fortunate to be in a state with a healthy economy. We look forward to another successful 75 years here in the state of Florida. Thank you all.
Okay, Rod Hirschberger, Chairman, PGT Innovations.
I want to thank Governor DeSantis for inviting us to be here today. I want to thank Rogan Donnelly for hosting this event, and I want to thank our elected officials for being here and supporting us. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about the pro-business climate in Florida. It's amazing. We're honored to share our story and thoughts around why our home state of Florida is the best place to live, work, and raise a family. For over 40 years, PGTI Innovations has been serving the southeastern United States with the window and door market from the Florida location. So when COVID began affecting our beautiful state, we were first and foremost concerned about thousands of families that supported themselves through our workforce and what the building industry would do if they lost one of the largest suppliers of windows and doors in the country. Fortunately, we were deemed an essential employee and we were allowed to stay open, and we insisted that precautionary measures were used, that CDC used, and we kept our employees healthy. And along with the support of the Florida government, we continued to grow all the way through the pandemic. Pro-business atmosphere in Florida has been crucial for PGT Innovations to prosper, specifically over the last 18 months. Our business has benefited from low taxes, from forward-thinking policies, and from creative ideas to thwart the labor and supply shortages that the rest of the country is experiencing. Despite mandates that have frustrated and really closed down businesses elsewhere, we don't see those mandates happening here. We're able to stay open and continue working. Governor DeSantis' efforts to protect Florida jobs and livelihoods has shown strong pro-business leadership during uncertain times for all the business owners and those that are represented here today. As a large manufacturing firm in the southeastern United States and spread elsewhere, we thank Governor DeSantis for what you've done to support all of our jobs. The business-friendly climate in Florida, coupled with competitive cost of doing business and living in paradise, makes this the best place to work and live. With the influx of new residents, our business has seen an incredible increase in demand for our products throughout the history of our company. We've had many opportunities to move our business to other states, but we've chosen to stay here. Besides the fact that we live in paradise, this is the best place to work from a tax perspective and from the leadership that we have. And we intend to stay here for long. And just maybe a little anecdote, I just came from our window and door industry national meeting, and I heard over 100 times, you guys are so lucky to have Governor DeSantis in Florida. You're so lucky to be in Florida, where you guys can work, where you guys can live, and where you guys have an open economy. And I thank you for that.
Okay, John Horn, Anna Maria Oysterbar.
Good morning. My name is John Horn, and I own 4 restaurants in this area. We're so incredibly fortunate. We've been in business for over 25 years, and we just started on a little 85-seat restaurant out in Tampa Bay and Anna Maria Island. We've grown from that point, as the governor said. We have 325 employees, and I'll tell you, it's been tough. We went 3 months without one application for a cook at one of our restaurants. 3 months, no one darkened the door, and we tried everything you can imagine, Craigslist, all the recruiters, etc. Those were tough times. But I'll tell you when it was tougher, it was COVID, because we were not considered essential employees. So we closed down for 7 weeks. It was a tough time for everyone. We were so fortunate. The governor said, we've got to get restaurants back open. We've got to get businesses back open. And within 7 weeks, we were back open at 25%. Through the Restaurant and Lodging Association, we all worked to make sure we had clean, healthy, safe restaurants for people to come back into. So we're very fortunate that we were allowed to open up. It's kind of hard to work from home when you can't cook or bartend for your customer, because we couldn't get them to stop by everybody's house. So we had to be back into our locations. So we're fortunate to have gotten back in. We just had the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association just had a marketing summit, and Carol Dover, our CEO, called and asked the governor to come down there, and you would have thought it was a rock star or a rock thing. He got up and he had the crowd just so excited about what he had done to get us back open, but what he's done about bringing tourism back. And I mean, everybody was on their feet, goosebumps everywhere when he said, I've got your back. And that's the way everybody in our industry feels, is we've got a governor that's got our back, that's working with us, that's working to help us. So we are so fortunate in our industry, and for that, thank you very much. As we said, our sales, we don't compare to 2020. We try to ignore 2020. We try to act like it never happened. So our sales compared to 2019, we're up 36%, 136 if you look at it that way. We're up 36 from 2019's numbers in several of our stores, averaging 24% up. We're just ecstatic by that. Staffing is coming back because people are looking to get back. We still need some people in our restaurants, but things are looking so good. Coincidentally, I'm in this area today. I'm meeting with a couple of developers and a couple of realtors in the South County area, in Venice, Northport, and all the way down to Bonita. We want to open 4 more Anna Maria oyster bars within the next 2 years. We want to double our size. So the time is right. And a lot of that's thanks to what's going on with our elected officials and all that. So thank you, Rogan, for having us here. I love that your staff is with you, because I think that's what we all do, is we think our staff is what makes us. It is in our restaurants. So fabulous to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have Kevin Tebow, FDOT Secretary.
Good morning. Glad to be here again with the governor to talk about transportation and the significant benefits it can provide. You heard a lot about the job growth. You heard a lot about the transportation growth that we're seeing. We've got to invest in that. We've got to make sure we're out in front of it. And so you just want to give you a snapshot. Last week we were talking about the ports and how they can help with the supply chain. Right here in Port Manatee, just to show you what the state has invested here, over $2.5 million we invested in new cargo cranes over there at Port Manatee. We have made over a $5 million investment on warehouse improvements, and we actually have made some improvements to their roadways coming in and out, again, providing another port that can be available to provide those goods, to get those goods back to market. On the highway end, we actually have some significant improvements already underway, like at Clark Road up the street at the interchange there. That project is over a $52 million project that we have underway. We have a River Road expansion. I know many of you in the area are very familiar with that. Excited about that, going from 2 to 4 or 6 lanes, depending on location. And then finally, one of our biggest projects that we have here again, that will help out not only in Port Manatee, but Port Tampa Bay as well, as our improvements at I-75 at US 301. $145 million that we're putting into that project to help getting that capacity and that throughput through the area. Again, glad to be here, glad to be at Tervis. Like I was mentioned before to Rogan, I have quite a few Tervis tumblers at home, so I get to see where the magic is right here. So again, thank you for all that you do here, Governor.
Okay, Dana Young, President and CEO of Visit Florida.
Thank you so much, Governor. It's great to be here. The job numbers are truly remarkable, and it's just so wonderful to see the hospitality sector leading that growth with a 24% increase. That's really inspiring, given what this industry has been through. And Governor, this would not be possible without your leadership and the leadership of these business leaders that are represented here, but truly all over our state, who kept their businesses going, gave their employees a place to work, let them put food on their tables, feed their families. And Governor, by keeping Florida open, while so much of our government is largely paid for by people who don't live here. So as recovered the tourism industry, so was able to recover our state economy. We were delighted to be able to get out and market throughout the nation for about 7 months with not another state and not another country in market. And that strategy has clearly worked. Our well-timed marketing during the pandemic allowed Florida to reach the top of the list of desired destinations for American travelers, and we're beating them by a lot. We are beating out New York, Las Vegas, Hawaii, California. And I will tell you that I was on a panel recently with my counterpart in California, and she said openly on this panel, folks, Florida is eating our lunch. We are dominating the national recovery, and everybody knows it. And we are unapologetic in our excitement to continue to bring the message of Florida to visitors. The governor went through the key performance indicators, of which Florida is leading the nation in every single one of them. And the statistics from the Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport are truly remarkable. I know that the Fort Myers Airport is also growing rapidly, and I'd like to think a good part of that is our marketing in California, Oregon, and Washington last year, where we had never done that. All of a sudden, they've got a lot of new flights in from the Western U.S., and there's a lot of reasons those people would want to be in Florida right now. In Q2, Visit Florida was thrilled to announce that our state saw a 6% increase in visitation over 2019 numbers. Again, we ignore 2020 because we just want to forget about it, but 2019 was our 10th record year of visitation, and we're already seeing increases over that. And again, it goes back to the strategic position we were able to create thanks to the vision and leadership of our great governor, Ron DeSantis, and all of our great business leaders. So thank you for having me here today.
And we're in a situation where if you look at the unemployment rate compared to some of these other large states, in New York, California, they're close to 7.5%. We're under 5%, so that's almost 50% higher, and that has huge ramifications. Our unemployment rate did go down in September, but what had happened was when the unemployment enhancement went away, you had way more people join the workforce. So we actually had a couple months where it slightly ticked up, even though we were adding jobs. Now I think we're getting more and more people back in the workforce. The participation's better. So then as we add jobs, you'll see the rate start to go down more, which I think is a really good thing. But that is really significant when you talk about having states still mired in 7.2, 7.5 unemployment. And with a lot of the other problems that we're seeing nationally, you're potentially in a situation where you could have chronically high unemployment and have chronically high inflation. That is not a very good recipe for success. So we're happy that we're going to be able to do it, and we think that this winter season should be very good for our tourism, and we're excited about a lot of the prospects for continued job growth and job creation throughout the state of Florida. I mean, I get to talk to people in other parts of the country, and it isn't as easy to just pick up and leave to come to Florida. But people will tell me, look, if I didn't have all my family and grandkids, like if I could come, I would. If it was that easy, I would definitely do it. And so I think you're seeing that more and more. So we're just going to keep on providing a good environment, make the investments in our infrastructure, make the investments in our workforce, make sure we're standing up for individual workers and protecting their rights to work. And I think that we'll end up continuing to see success going forward. So great to be in South County again, and happy to take a couple questions. I haven't seen it, so I'll have to take a look. I know there's talking about mixing and matching different stuff, so we'll see. Yes. No. It is not. No. It's for officers, period. Has nothing to do with their vaccination status. So that's just wrong. That's I think there was a headline from a corporate outlet, which we all know corporate media lies. Okay, they do not tell the truth. Assume what they tell you is false, and then figure out why they're telling you a false narrative. I put that out there as a proposal months ago, and the reason we're doing it is because people are being treated poorly in Seattle and Minnesota and near NYPD. They don't have the support. They've had their funding cut. They get criticized if they just enforce the law. Some places they don't even enforce the law, like in San Francisco, they don't prosecute people shoplifting, so you have rampant crime. So that's why we're doing it, because morale is low. Morale is low for years because of how law enforcement's been treated. But when you saw all the rioting last summer, all the vitriol directed at them, Florida stood up and said, we back the blue. And so we are 100% excited about saying anyone that's being mistreated, if the morale's low, if you can't take that environment, and we have openings here, you're going to get an environment where people are going to support you. And I think that's something and I can tell you the people that have come down from some of these places already, you talk to them, it's the best decision they've ever made. So we're looking to capitalize off a lot of communities across our country who've turned their back on law enforcement, who aren't providing them the support, where there's all kinds of different problems with just being able to do the job. So it has nothing to do, it will be available to anyone who comes. And so if people are trying to say it's a vaccine issue, it's not, has nothing to do with that. They've been mistreated for a long time. I don't think a police officer should be fired over shots. I don't think that's correct. They've been out in the line. They've been out for months, a year and a half, 2 years doing their job. And we said that they were heroes for a while. And now all of a sudden some jurisdictions want to fire them. I think that's wrong for sure. But our $5,000 bonus, that applies to anyone. I mean, if you're in NYPD and you're not getting the support you need and you're qualified, you come down here, you're going to get a bonus because we've got your back, and it's a way to say thank you, just like we did with the $1,000 bonuses that we gave for every sworn law enforcement officer in last year's budget as a way to say thank you. While other jurisdictions were defunding police, we were funding them and then doing bonuses. So we're going to continue to do that. We're also going to have a proposal to increase pay for the state law enforcement agencies so we can make sure we keep folks there, and then that's competitive. We lose people from corrections and stuff because unfortunately it's a tight labor market, so people have more options. So we've got to remain competitive. So we're going to do all that, but that's really just about creating a good environment, a pro-law enforcement environment. And I can tell you, when you let that go, when public safety starts to erode, all these other things we're talking about, jobs, education, all this stuff, quality of life, it all is undercut because you're not going to have a thriving community if you don't have a safe community. And so we are committed to that. And I think we have an opportunity. We talk about bringing businesses here, and that's great. I mean, we're going to continue to do that. But we have a historic opportunity to bring in very talented people in law enforcement to come to the state of Florida who have not been treated well by their communities. And we stand ready and willing and able to capitalize on that and guarantee them an environment that they will be appreciated. So go back, we did it right in your market. We would do special vaccine drives for law enforcement. We did it at the Polk County Sheriff's Office with Grady Judd. We did it everywhere. When the Johnson & Johnson came out, we provided that specifically to law enforcement. So we've done a lot in that regard. I've also been the only governor in the country that I'm aware of that has provided enhanced access to early treatments. If you look what happened when people were getting hospitalized at higher numbers this summer, almost none of them got any type of early treatment. And we've had monoclonal antibodies available since December, which have proven to be very effective. So we rolled out 25 sites, and since we've rolled out those sites, daily hospital admissions are down over 90%. Our hospital census has gone down statewide every day for over 2 months, and we're probably going to be nearing a pandemic low on all of that stuff. So we've provided huge support on the front end through prevention, but also huge support on the back end through treatment. And I think the sad thing is there were people who were getting infected for really a long time and still happening throughout the country, where physicians were telling them to just go home and hope you don't get deathly sick. In Florida, what we said is that can't be the answer, particularly the high-risk folks. If you're infected, get this monoclonal very quickly. And you know what? We had huge success with it. I mean, we kept tens of thousands of people from being admitted to the hospitals and no doubt saved thousands of lives as a result of that. And these are people, by the way, who have been vaccinated. I mean, the idea that somehow you're not going to get infected, I wish that were case, because that would make it so much easier. Fact is, the protection against infection has waned. You have high numbers of people that go to our sites. A majority of them are vaccinated who get infected and then go to our monoclonal sites for treatment. So you need treatment regardless. And so we're happy that we've had a lot of success with it. We have very low numbers now because we have one of the lowest COVID infection rates in the country, and maybe the lowest in terms of the COVID Estim website. I think we're 49 or 50, and with per capita cases, we're in the bottom 5. So consequently, we have fewer people who need the early treatment. We were short some of it because the federal government cut our supply. I got the sotrovimab, and we were able to plug that hole. And then the infections have gone down so dramatically that even with our cuts, we've been able to make it work. And so we're going to continue to do that as we start to see the winter come. If we start to see a change in direction, we're going to make sure that people know you have an ability to protect yourself. But I definitely think that early treatment was something that we did very, very effectively. And I think I actually talked to people in other states. They can't get it. They don't know where to get it in a lot of these other states. And I think that's a huge mistake, because as you're already seeing it now in the north, their cases are rising because we just have a different seasonal pattern. So their cases are rising. And I think the resistance to the monoclonals, I think is going to be very negative. And so if you embrace the monoclonals, even as more and more people are infected who are vaccinated, which unfortunately looks like it will continue to happen, you have an ability to provide protection in ways that really, really work. And that's the thing. We have people that are immune compromised, people that are very elderly, have other health conditions, got vaccinated, good. And yes, it probably still helps, but sometimes you need treatment as well. I mean, you can get protection, but that may not be enough for given all your health concerns or given your age or something. So that is just, I really, of all the things that we've seen, and we've seen a lot of really ridiculous things. I mean, they said at the beginning, don't leave your house. And then when they started to have massive protests, they said the protests were fine, but normal people couldn't go to like a funeral or something. So we've seen all this conflicting stuff, but not embracing a very effective treatment. I don't understand why we did it. I was criticized roundly for doing it. People said it was not the right thing. And I can tell you, there's over 100,000 Floridians who are glad that we were able to provide access to this, because it's helped a lot. But I think so. I think we need to get to the program. The final thing I'll say before I have to go is, we have all this stuff coming out for some of these people, like Fauci and NIH. And then what do we find out? We know NIH gave money to fund research, gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So what they're doing is they're taking U.S. tax dollars in China, and they're trying to create super viruses that'll be more dangerous for humans. And they'll say, well, we want to figure out how to combat the viruses. But you're doing this. This is very hazardous. I think it's unethical to do it. They should have been banned from doing it, but I think they went around the ban. And so we've got to shut that down. You can't have mad scientists running around playing God like this, and then come to find out what else is Fauci and NIH doing. They're doing cruel experiments on puppies. What they were doing with those puppies is flat out disgusting. It's despicable. That needs to stop. I cannot believe American tax dollars would go to treat those dogs the way those dogs are being treated. And, I really think Fauci needs to be held accountable. These people, these bureaucrats, they don't get to just run wild and do whatever the hell they want to with our tax dollars. And so from funding gain-of-function research to treating these puppies with really unimaginable cruelty, I think that whole lot of them need to be cleaned out, and we need to be standing up for the American taxpayer and doing things ethically and not doing things like gain of function research, and certainly not abusing puppies. Thank you.
Okay, real quick here. Just wanted to cover a couple of things on what the governor's talking about here for those of you who haven't seen about the issue with the dog testing in North Africa. I don't even think that I can show a single image or even refer to it without violating my agreement here. But it was some of the worst animal testing that I've ever seen in my life. And Fauci was responsible for it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to let you guys do your own work on that. The governor also talked about, and in the comments section, we also talked about this idea of, golly, I can't move to Florida because I have this, and this other thing going on. If you have familial attachments in places, I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do for your family. But if it's about an issue with, I'm just afraid, or if it's finances, save up a few months' expenses. There are rooms for rent down here. For example, if it were me, and I woke up tomorrow and I was trapped some horrible northern state, I would save up a couple months' expenses, get in my car. I don't care how I had to find it. I'd find a room for rent. And I would work literally morning to night. I would get a day job and I would get a night job. And I don't care how horrible the situation was. I would find a way to get here and then just make my lot better. And I wouldn't care what it was. I don't care if it was the worst one bedroom or one, hotel room or whatever, rental room. I don't care what it was. I would get here before I would live in my own home in Michigan. Let me say that again. I would live here renting someone else's room or some type of a dirty hotel room here in Florida before I would live in my own home in Indiana or Michigan or Minneapolis or wherever else in the north. That's how strongly I feel about being here. Florida is by far not a perfect place. Somebody had mentioned earlier on Twitter that I'm trying to remember who it was. I forget. They said, why is it only Governor DeSantis doing these events like this and making all of these inroads against the Biden administration when there are other states that are, quote unquote, more Republican? And he didn't even realize what he was saying. You see, Republican is a party affiliation based on emotional beliefs. Our governor is a conservative based on thought. You see, there used to be conservative Democrats. There used to be conservative Republicans. Conservatism used to be a thing that didn't have a party affiliation. And this is where people have gotten confused. It's the same people that are pining for Donald Trump top-down governance, not realizing that they're just Republican liberals. They're just Republican liberals. If you're still wanting a forensic audit of blah, 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 election, all this kind of crap, wanting the last president to come save you, that's a desire for top-down governance, and that makes you a progressive liberal. It doesn't matter what your parentheses is, parentheses R, parentheses D. It doesn't matter. In fact, I was getting ready to do a video when this, I was absolutely unaware of this. I had to scramble to get ready to do this live. This is a quote that I had set up that I was going to start today's video with. From Henry David Thoreau. How does it become a man to behave toward this American D.C. government today? I answer that he cannot, without disgrace, be associated with it. He cannot, without disgrace, be associated with it. And this was Henry David Thoreau. And what about the Canary? Okay, you see, there you go, Sandy. There is no Canary Island problem. If this idea of La Palma is the reason that you're so, oh, I can't go to Florida, all I would ask is, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and zoom out here. Everybody wants to talk about all these natural disasters that may or may not hit Florida. If you live on the West Coast, okay, you've got a giant volcano up here off the coast of Washington that could blow at any time, and the earthquake then would send a giant wall of water right down the coast and destroy all of this. If you live in the West, there is the issue with Yellowstone, the giant caldera under Yellowstone that could blow. And if that thing would blow, it would change the planet. But immediately, all the way out here, out in the middle, everything all the way to Illinois would be completely uninhabitable. If you live in the Midwest, if you live down here, you have the New Madrid fault that the last time it let go, back in the 1800s, the Mississippi River ran backwards for weeks. And it destroyed everything. So you have this to worry about. And if you're worried about some ridiculous Cascadia, exactly. If you're worried about some tsunami hitting the East Coast, if it would hit Florida, it would hit everywhere up the East Coast. It would literally, if that were to happen, it's not going to happen. If that were going to happen, it would hit Brazil, it would hit Central America, it would hit everywhere. That would go straight north, it would hit England, it would hit Spain. This would be a global event. So wherever you want to be afraid of, I can give you a reason. Wherever you want to live, where you think you're safe, it's not safe. So given that it's all equally dangerous, why not choose to live somewhere that at least while you're living under God's grace, and don't we all live under God's grace? Don't we all truly take our breath, wake up every morning under the grace of God? It doesn't matter whether you live in Nebraska or whether you live in Wisconsin. If you live under tyranny in Wisconsin because you're afraid of a La Palma, if it was going to happen, it would have happened already. If it was going to happen, it's been erupting now for over a month. And all of the scaremongering and all of the fear-mongering and the guy on YouTube who's doing videos every day about it, trying to scare everybody, it's a non-starter. Yeah, you know what? And the earth is 3/4 ocean that we have no idea about. Believe me, there are a lot of people trying to scare. Oh, they're going to get all the Patriots in Florida, and then they're going to send a hurricane. Do you know how many hurricanes have hit Florida in the last 100 years? It's absolutely mind-boggling to me that people see something good happening. And this is what's really going on. It's a non-Trump associated good thing happening. So that's why they're suspicious of it. Many people not realizing that Trump doesn't even live here anymore. Oh, and by the way, has Mr. Trump sent out his best wishes yet to the family of Mrs. DeSantis over her breast cancer diagnosis? No, he hasn't said a word, has he? Not on any of his platforms. Oh, he started his own little platform, this DWAC, DWAC, whatever, and listed on the NYSE. But all of those other platforms like Odyssey and Rumble and BitChute and Parler and Telegram and Gab, he didn't take advantage of any of those. Think of all of the reach that man could have had over this last year if he wasn't such a narcissist. I'll say right now, he does not like Governor DeSantis. He does not like it at all because Governor DeSantis has no desire to rule from Washington, D.C. Governor DeSantis has no desire to rule anyone or to rule, period, from Washington, D.C., or even Tallahassee. His desire is to serve. And this is what confuses those in D.C. It's what confuses the man who lives in Bedminster, New Jersey right now. That he has this type of loyalty, this amount of people backing him, this amount of people supporting him, when he has no desire to rule. They still don't get it. One of the questions that is very hard to hear at the press conference was talking about how the governor was allegedly inviting unvaccinated police officers to come here. Total lie. Total fictitious, made-up lie by the leftist media, just like they made up this make-believe story about him wanting to run for president. The man has never even said one time he even had an interest in it. And he had to come out and say affirmatively, no, I have no interest. I have no interest in it. But he wasn't inviting unvaccinated police officers here. He was inviting all police officers from across the country who feel like they have been mistreated, which is the vast majority of them. That if you want to be treated properly, like a good public servant, come to Florida. Believe me, it's working. Because it doesn't matter what opinion you have on anything. If you don't have public safety, it all falls apart. I don't care how magical your economic program is, or what hopes you have for the future of your state or your country. If you don't have public safety, if the public does not feel comfortable going out and just conducting their daily lives without fear of criminal activity, it's over. It is absolutely over. It doesn't matter how armed you are or armed you're not. I don't care if everybody was armed. If every time you went out, it was a firefight. People bump into each other at Walmart and all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang. Sorry. That's not going to be good for business. That's what we have here in Florida. And some don't like it. But the criminals have to have a healthy fear of the police. And they do. And believe me, I've told people multiple times, I'll say it again, don't come to Florida thinking you're going to fool or be smarter than our law enforcement. If you've got crosswise with the law down here, you might as well leave. If you get crossways with the law in Florida, you might as well leave. And some might think that's a good thing, or some might not think it's a good thing. You can't have the idea of, well, I'm just going to protect myself, anarchy, and also have a thriving, happy, financially sound society. You can't. It won't work that way, because not everybody's going to want to go. A mom and 3 kids she's not going to go out someplace with her kids and have to worry about having to draw down to keep her kids safe everywhere she goes. You can talk about training people to protect themselves, and that's fine. But if it's something you would have to do to literally go to the gas station, go to the store, take your kids to soccer practice, go anywhere else, go out to dinner, if you've got to worry about that, why the hell would you live someplace like that? Why would you live someplace that were the case? You see, that's what a lot of anarchists want. A lot of these, and actually they're ultra-rightists. Ultra-right-wingers want. They want this form of anarchy that they believe that everything's going to be peaceful, nice, and wonderful as long as everybody is armed and ready to shoot at a moment's notice. I have weapons. The vast majority of Floridians have weapons. And we're thankful every day that we don't even have to sometimes worry about taking them with us. We don't worry about it. It absolutely breaks my heart. I've heard the Patriot nurse talk multiple times. I believe she lives up in Knoxville, up in that region in East Tennessee, about how she doesn't feel comfortable leaving her house or going anywhere without her everyday carry, without her little mini kit, that feels like she needs to be armed everywhere she goes. And that's supposedly in a conservative state? That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. I feel horrible that that's how she has to operate in a place that shouldn't be that way. Tennessee is mostly conservative, if I'm not mistaken. That's just living in fear, and that's, I'll be very honest with you. If I ever, for some reason, I can't imagine one, if I had to spend the night in a place like Michigan or a place like Wisconsin or anywhere up northeast, that for sure, absolutely, up there. But I would hope to not have to live in fear like that every single day just to go to the grocery store. And Floridians don't. And I don't honestly believe most Texans are that way also. I mean, we have liberals down here. I mean, we have people that support Biden down here and, bless their heart and all that, but they're definitely a huge minority. I was just reading through the comments here real quick, trying to catch up. It shows a lack of faith in God. Absolutely. Absolutely. A lack of faith in just the basic fundamentals of taking care of yourself. Mickey 41. In the public parks, woods, yesterday, I ran across 2 homeless men who stalked me while later Are you in Florida? Mickey 41, if you're in Florida, just make a police report and they'll cuff them and stuff them. K-Town Dad, you know what? Okay, I mean, it could be you're in North Carolina. Well, okay, that doesn't surprise me. I'm telling you what, North Carolina, and I hate to say it, but man, this is the MO of the left right now. They want to find states in the South where there's one big city that controls everything. And in Tennessee, they believe, the liberals, if they can control Nashville, Memphis, and Chattanooga, they can control the state. Right now, they've got Nashville locked. It's all liberals. They take those two, everything in East Tennessee isn't going to matter because they're so spread out. And North Carolina, it's just kind of, I hate to say it, it's Virginia's, somewhat retarded little brother at the moment. They want to take the big, they want to take the East Coast up here. And it's, see, they're never going to get Texas. They're never going to get Texas because Texas isn't just run by one big location. They've got Austin, but it's so big and it's so suburban, not rural. You see, there's a difference between suburban and rural. They're not afraid of the folks living in rural areas. They're afraid of the suburbs. And that's really kind of what makes Florida out of reach for them. Florida it has, of course, all these big cities, Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville. But the vast majority of the people who really drive the political climate in our state live in the suburbs. And where you've seen the vast majority of the places that you've seen our governor speak from are blue areas. He was just, I believe, in Sarasota, this region. And he's spoken from down here in this region. In fact, right before he was the whole issue with the building that collapsed, he had spoken from right up the road, surrounded by people that support him. So, I mean, that's just, my humble opinion on all this. If you want to come to Florida, but be prepared to work your ass off. But if you do, the rewards will be far beyond anything you could ever get in any other state. That's the reality of Florida. It's a merit-based state. It is a merit-based state. There are no guarantees here. That's, I believe, what truly the left hates about our state. Is that you have the ability to reach the levels like a Rush Limbaugh did. But you also have the ability to crash and burn in an epic way. There is a somewhat kind of a social safety net here, but we don't pay people not to work with so many jobs out there. And I wouldn't want to. There's honor and there's dignity in work. And once again, Phoenix Rising, any tsunami that would hit Florida would hit DC just as hard. It would hit DC and New York just as hard. I would argue this, that it would actually affect those places far worse than Florida. You know why? Okay, if a tsunami would hit the east coast of Florida, the first place that tsunami, and watch what I'm doing here on the map. Here comes the wave, right? The first place the wave would hit would be the Bahamas. Okay? The Bahamas. Exactly. Somebody got ahead of me. None of your business. Okay? So that wave would get broken up long before it got to this region. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm. Now, it would smack into, unfortunately, kind of where I live. Daytona, somewhat Jacksonville, this area. But this isn't most of the population of Florida. The most of the population of Florida, Orlando would be safe. Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete, Fort Myers, Naples, almost the entire Panhandle, Pensacola, Gainesville, our capital is Tallahassee. Even if this were the case, which I don't believe it's the case, the most populated area of Florida would be spared because of the Bahamas. The least populated area would take the most of the brunt of the hit. And there would, of course, be, part of that wave that would come through, the Caribbean in this area, but the effects in the most populated areas of Florida wouldn't be that bad. Now, go up the coast. Here's Washington, D.C. If it slams into the East Coast here and it would clobber New Jersey, it would send a giant wall of water, huge wall of water, up here, up through the Sound. And it would absolutely annihilate Annapolis, the Pentagon, Baltimore, New Jersey. New York would be completely destroyed. So believe me, in the event of a tsunami, you want to be, if you had to choose between Florida, New York, or Washington, D.C., I would choose Florida. And even where I'm at, and I'll zoom in here. This is Palm Coast right here. I'm pretty close to the water, but I'm miles inland. Miles and miles inland. If it was a tsunami big enough to reach I-95, that would be a worldwide event. That wouldn't be a quote-unquote attack on Florida. That would be a worldwide event. Any wave big enough to make it all the way to I-95, and I-95 is about as close as you get to the water here, would be a worldwide event. It wouldn't be an attack on Florida. So that pretty much debunks that whole La Palma nonsense. The vast majority of Florida would survive anyway, and large swaths of the rest of the world would be absolutely catastrophically unrecoverable. So, anyway, maybe I'll just do a video on that. I mean, I don't know. And Florida is. I mean, it's not like, you're living out in the mountains in Tennessee for sure, but honest to God, if people up there feel like they need to be armed just to go to the dollar store, sorry, I'll take my chances with whatever hurricane, blah, 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 make-believe, natural disaster. And exactly right. We get water here all the time. I mean, we do all sorts of, it rains literally the entire summer and spring. It's nonstop rain all the time. And gully washers, it comes quick and it goes quick. So, I mean, of all the places that's equipped to recover, Florida is well equipped. I mean, every year we're prepared for hurricanes, and as soon as the hurricane passes, we've got people coming in from behind, picking up power lines, clearing trees, getting power stood back up. It's just what we have practiced doing. Yeah, exactly. I Pet Mermaid. Florida will remain. We may be one big sandbar, and Florida might get structures wiped out. But if you look at old world maps, Florida has been here for centuries. Exactly right. Exactly right. You see, that's, Mickey 41, some naval... If the next person that talks about the Navy map of the future U.S., you realize that's a fake map, right? You realize that's a fake map. First of all, 200 miles inland would be almost the entire width of Florida in some places. That's not reality. That was a fake map. That Navy projection, U.S. Navy world, that was a make-believe fake map that the Navy disavowed years and years and years ago. And people still reference it. It is bizarre. So, and like I said, to my mind, there's a much greater chance of the New Madrid letting loose and destroying all of the infrastructure from central Illinois through Arkansas all the way east into Tennessee and up into Missouri. It would destroy if that earthquake would hit, and that actually did happen 200 years ago. Exactly right, Phoenix. It's a totally concocted map. That was from the early days of the internet before people bothered to check things. If this fault that runs right through southern Illinois here called the New Madrid would let go, they estimate that 3/4 of the bridges across the Mississippi River would be impassable. That would absolutely destroy, for years, perhaps a decade, the financial infrastructure of the Midwest. It would make life here impossible. And once again, God is in control. It really doesn't matter at this point. So with everything being equal, meaning you've got the Cascadia, you've got the Yellowstone caldera, you've got the fault here at New Madrid. I'm choosing Florida. Based solely on the fact that if shit would hit the fan, I trust and believe in my neighbors. I know that I could walk to any house in my neighborhood right now and say, hi, I'm blah, 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 at that guy's house right there, and I have this kind of problem. Is there any way you could help me out? Blah, 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 blah. I would get nothing but yes. That's no problem. And I would do the same thing for my neighbors. Same thing with our police forces. We don't fear the police here. We don't fear law enforcement here. We don't see them, roll up behind us when we're on the road and freeze up and, reduce our car to the exact speed limit or 5 miles under. We wave at them. We talk to them. We laugh with them and tell jokes, and we don't act like a bunch of idiots around them. Of course, if you're doing something illegal and you're doing something you're not supposed to, or you have something in your car you're not supposed to have, then that might be different. But once again, don't get crossways with the law in Florida. That is the one caveat. Keep your nose clean, work hard, be respectful, treat people like you want to be treated. And Florida literally is paradise. It literally is paradise. I've thought about taking my, phone and recording going through the grocery store. I've gone to 5 different ones, Publix, around here, and I haven't seen one empty shelf. I haven't seen one empty shelf, and, be a good citizen, exactly right, his story. I honestly, government here is almost invisible. It literally is almost invisible here. I don't feel pressured by government to do this or not do that, or fear of this. And your Publixes are full too. Yeah, I'm like, where are these empty shelves people are talking about? The only reason I don't, and I haven't taken the phone and went and recorded in the grocery stores around here, is because I don't want to take a chance on putting somebody on the internet that doesn't want to be on the internet. So I would somehow have to find a way to record the aisles without there being people, and they're almost always busy. So, maybe I'll try to take, little snippets here and there. But it's, I wouldn't set foot in a Walmart. I don't care. I mean, like I said, I bought one TV there a couple of years ago. But, no state income tax, low property taxes. I shop locally as much as I can. Farmers markets, local businesses, Publix is the one exception. I'll be honest with you, as often as it's possible, I use Instacart, the delivery service, because that helps people locally that are trying to make an extra few bucks. It actually boosts your local economy. There are folks that are coming here and they're trying to find any way they can to get by. If you want to help folks that are doing that, if it's within your financial wherewithal to do, pay somebody to mow your lawn. Pay somebody to, bring you your groceries. I would stay away from Uber, stay completely away from Uber and Lyft. But Instacart is a great service. And, if you got somebody around, local person that, maybe they want to let them power wash your house and shop at your farmers markets. And when you go out, you want to go out to eat, have something to eat, find a little place, a little non-chain place. Stay away from Applebee's, stay away from Chili's. Leave that for the tourists. The Red Lobsters, the Fridays, all that kind of stuff. If you live here, go find a local place. And I tell you what, I haven't ever had a bad experience doing that. These local folks here that run the little local restaurants, man, I tell you what, somebody walks through the door, you might as well you could be a king, a queen, or a prince, or a princess. The way the service you get, they are just so happy to have people coming through the doors. So anyway, 67 minutes, just kind of a primer on anyone wanting to come to Florida. Is what you expected America to be. We're still there. We're still there, and we're still moving in that direction. So if you're sick and tired of what's going on up north, you're sick and tired of the Biden agenda and all this kind of crap, and being afraid, if you're really tired of being afraid or waking up afraid, like I said, if it was me, I'd drive my car here, I would rent the first room that I could afford, and I would work a day job and a night job until I saved enough, and I would get on a waiting list, and I'd get the first apartment I could find, and then I'd get my own apartment, and then I'd continue to work my ass off and save and save and save and save and save, and then I would get on a waiting list, and I would get in the first house in the most decent area I could find, and continue to do that. That's what Florida's all about. I get up every day, and very blessed. I have a little 3-2, and it took me a long time to get to where I'm at right now. This little 3-2 that I have in Palm Coast, to me, I'm good at this point. If I had to die here, no problem. It's not a big place. It's not the nicest place in the world, but it's got everything I need, and it's right where I want it to be. And it's very doable. And believe me, if I can do it, some old Army guy can do it. There's a lot of folks out there with a lot more talent, a lot more skill than I have. And, you know, with the blessing of the Lord every month, I keep the wolves away from the door. And with your guys' help too, I can do this and pay the bills. So anyway, God bless. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it always. And we will try to get a video up later. I didn't even know about what the governor was going to be talking about today. So, but there is a lot to talk about for sure. So anyway, God bless. Have a great day. Monday Night Football tonight is going to be a great game. So tune into that. And coming up this weekend, we have Florida, Georgia. Florida's not doing that great. They're 3-3, but they lost to Alabama, lost to LSU. So I think it's going to be a good game because Florida's really got nothing to lose at this point, and Georgia's coming off a bye week. So I think it's going to be a really good game. So anyway, yes, Palm Coast is absolutely beautiful. So anyway, we will see you guys later. Take care. Thanks for being here.